In this video, we are going to break down every single one of the characters that had an errata in the brand new announced 2023 card pack. Hey guys, Rich from Rich Me Gaming. I hope everyone is doing fantastically well. Welcome to this, another MiniStravaganza breakdown video. This time we're going to be taking a look at all of the characters that got an errata in the brand new, and I suppose now live, 2023 card pack. And to join me to go through each of these is Mr. Quinn Duggan. Quinn, how the hell are you doing, sir? It has been a minute since
It's been a while.
Since we did a actual live video together, so
is this
recorded
video.
Sorry,
characters?
I think this is the one with Aquaman in it, right? That's the one.
There's Batman there. The second character that we can see. That's Batman,
yeah,
right?
Batman. Yeah, Batman. Quinn, what did you think overall of MiniStravaganza? What was your overall thoughts of it?
It was pretty good.
Was pretty darn good, wasn't it? They did treat us to a few really nice things, and one of the things that they did indeed show us or release, and they seem to do these sort of every other MiniStravaganza, I believe, because they missed it last time and then they've done it again this time. But it was, of course, the much anticipated. I think everyone was like, this is definitely happening. Got 2023 card pack. So we got to see all of the new cards for all of those new characters, obviously in the nice new format as well. I do prefer the new landscape format over the original portrait ones, I must admit. And just a quick reminder, guys, that we are giving away the brand new core box. So watch any of our MiniStravaganza videos, and we're going to ask a question at the end of it. So make sure you hang around until the end of the video to join in for that. So, Quinn, I suppose without further ado, let's jump over and take a look at the tier list. Because what better way to go through all of these brand new characters than with a tier list? I just find it the best way to judge things. And you know me, Quinn, quite judgy, if I'm being...
A little bit, I don't want to say anything, but yeah, very judgy.
Quite judgy indeed. So, Quinn, we're going to go through, first of all of the characters that actually had a change. But we're then going to talk about just a couple of characters, because the other thing that went alongside this was there was a change to the banned and restricted list, namely that the reality gem and the space gem are no longer on the restricted list, which I think is better. I don't know, like, I feel like they're gems, like they're restrictive enough in themselves anyway. Like, I always felt it was a bit weird that they were on there, but as we know, the main reason they were on there is because somebody was too goddamn good.
Yeah, I mean, arguably, they're still very, very good, but we'll get into that when we get to Mr. Purple Chin himself.
Mr. Purple Chin himself. Well, let's start off at the very top. Guys, we're going to do this in the correct order, which is alphabetically. Not, because we don't discriminate here, Quinn, do we? We do not segregate.
We do, just not against mutants.
Just not against mutants, yeah. But we do not segregate mutants and the... I nearly said we don't segregate mutants and normal people, which into itself
is segregation.
is segregation. Starting off then, Quinn, Amazing Spider-Man. Coming out the gates with a big 5-threat character who has always felt a little bit, not necessarily underwhelming, but definitely playing second fiddle to Miles when it comes to a Web Warriors leadership. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I feel like Peter Parker in general has had a pretty bad run of it in terms of MCP character cards.
They really don't like him, do they? They really don't like him. So what's happened to his card? Well, not huge in terms of the new text, but quite impactful. So whatever a spider can has been, so that's his builder, sorry, that's his spender even, has gone down from a 5-cost attack down to a 4-cost, making it that much easier to pull off. But also he has got mastered spider sense. Jonah, this one's for you. So it's a new innate ability, Quinn, and basically it's scientific hubris, right? Every time he rolls dice, and it has to be him rolling. Now, there's some weird rules where it isn't always Spider-Man that's
It isn't
rolling his own.
like his dice pool that he's rolling in, right?
Yeah, exactly that. Basically, every time you roll a crit, you're going to get an extra power. Now, it's not 1 power per crit, Quinn, is it? But it's just a flat power,
Yeah.
which, makes that whatever a spider can that much easier, makes web swing more accessible, makes witty banter. I think that's the big one for me.
Witty banter is very big. Like,
Yeah, being able to use that.
Because Spider-Man, like ASM, like the one thing that you can't really take away from him is he's a defensive powerhouse. Like,
Yes.
4/4/3 stats, re-roll as many dice as you like, is really, really good from a defensive standpoint. Which meant that most of the time, he was only getting like dribs and drabs of damage through onto him.
Yeah.
Which then meant he didn't have a lot of power to go and do the things he wanted to do. Whereas now, when he's rolling those defense dice, if he's getting crits, he's getting power, even if he's not taking any damage. Or,
Yeah.
and this I think is the really interesting one, is on witty banter, you have effective against most characters. You have a 5 in 8 chance of turning. No, it's defensive, so it's a 50/50 chance of turning something positive offensively into something
Negative.
neutral. Yeah.
Yep.
And then on top of that, now with this Master Spider Sense change, on those 50% of rolls where something positive offensively still happens, despite your reroll efforts,
you have
you've got a 1 in 4 chance of getting your power back for it anyway. Like,
yeah,
it's so much more like self-sustaining now. I really, really like it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I really like that, and I think that's the big thing because he's always had the plays right, medium base, long move, not to be sniffed at from an objective standpoint.
Yep.
And now he's going to get all that extra power. Yeah, I really, really like it, Quinn. If memory serves me right, we've always had him in as like a, middle of the road,
like
maybe,
a BC, right?
Maybe like B minus C plus ish.
Yeah.
Where for you does he now go?
Oh,
and actually, before we get on to that, Quinn, let me just quickly. So, standard tier ranking system, S through to D. Everyone loves it, apart from that one guy. You know who you are because he hates Japan. So we have to get all of this in. It's a ritual. Basically, S is going to be exceptionally good. As a chance, maybe too good. A is just absolutely solid, really, really good. B is perfectly balanced, right? That is the middle of the road. In a perfectly balanced game, every character would be B. C is just, they're not necessarily not good enough. There may just be other people in their way. So just a better 4 threat or a better 3 threat. And then D is really needs some work, needs a little tweak here and there, which a lot of the characters, Quinn, on this list that we're going to go through were in that D tier category. So it's, I'm not saying we create the agenda, but so back to you, Quinn. Where would you put New Amazing Spider-Man right now?
So previously, I think I probably had him in, like, as you said, B minus territory. I think he is now very much a splashable character, and I think that splashable nature is what bumps someone up into that A tier for me.
Yep.
So I think ASM now is probably high A tier as well.
It's exactly where I was thinking of putting him. I mean, think about what he can do with some of the new objectives that we've got, right? You've got senators, you've got, especially with his web swing as well, right? He can do a web swing whilst holding a senator and make a move, and it's a long move. And he's got advances off the back of his attacks, which are now cheaper. He's just had an all-round, increase in playability, I think. So, yeah, I agree, Quinn. I think he is very, very good. And I think we're going to see him a lot, which, do you know what? He is officially the most recognizable superhero in the world. He should be the flagship for this game.
Yeah.
And he isn't. So it's nice to see him on there, and it'll be nice to see, hopefully, him on some gaming tables when we go to events and things like that.
100%. And quickly, before we go on to the next character, it's a tier list.
What does A stand for, Quinn?
A for ascension. He is ascended
I
from the
like it.
bowels of this game to be
I
prevalent.
I do like it. Next up, Quinn, a character that our good friend Ron would argue needed no introduction.
No, I don't think
Not
you'd argue that he needed
no,
nothing. I think,
no, I know. Black Ball has long been in one of those weird positions, Quinn, where he has arguably, if not the best leadership in the games, one of the best leaderships in the game. Like,
yeah.
super, super good. Just dish power out or move power around at any point during your activation, which was always the key thing about it, wasn't it? What's happened to Black Ball? Well, he's got one additional Mystic Defense. Good, because he was 4-4-2 before and it was terrible. Stamina on his healthy side has gone up from 5 to 6. His Energy Bolt, so his builder, has gone from 5 to 6. The cost of his Master Punch has gone from, I think it was either 5 or 4,
It was 4.
down to 3. 4 down to 3. His focus power has completely changed. It used to give him 2 additional dice. It now gives him 1 extra power during the power phase.
And those additional dice have been rolled into the energy bolt as well, right?
Into the energy bolt as well, yeah. Or at least one of them has.
Yeah, like
right?
halfway
So,
house. You're not paying for
yeah.
it and you get extra power for it. I'll take it.
A king serves his people. He now has bodyguard that costs 1, which, like, 1 for a bodyguard is crazy.
Yeah.
And his whisper strength has gone up from 9 to 10. So that is a beam 4, strength 10 attack. It's all positive, Quinn, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, it's all positive. Now, when I made my video, Black Bolt was one of the characters that I pulled out. For me, I said what he needed was some additional stamina on his healthy side, and maybe 1 extra mystic, and I thought he'd have been fine. Wow, he's had, as they would say in the industry, a glow up, to say the least.
A base improvement to his builder.
I mean, dear Lord, Quinn. Like, this for me is getting into Ghost Rider realms of maybe, just maybe, because he's been so unloved for so long, they've gone too far in the other direction. I don't know your thoughts, Quinn.
I think it remains to be seen. Like, Inhumans are a very cool affiliation. Like, when they were first sort of revealed and when they were first coming out, I played a lot of Inhumans, and then sort of dipped after that. They've had, like, the Medusa nerf affect them pretty majorly in the last card update we had.
Yeah.
Which, was needed for the game. Like, she...
Oh, 100%.
Very, very
She was toxic. Yeah, absolutely.
Now having this, like, the boost of Black Bolt, the new crises have made Terra Genesis more of a, like, genuinely playable card.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think, obviously Ron's had a lot of success with them at the York Weekender.
Let's not take away the fact that Ron is a very good player as well.
He's awful, mate. Awful. I beat him all the time. Mate.
Only a shatter point.
No, I beat him on TTS and MCP because TTS hates him.
That is also true. Yeah.
But yeah, like this is a massive glow up. He is now genuinely gonna command the respect that a 5 should on the board.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that's like sort of a trend that we've seen go away from the early days of the game. It used to be that, like, 5s were really, really scary and, like, really impactful. And then sort of after some changes here and there, it seemed like you had to be 6 or above to be that, like, big sort of power piece, unless you were called Ghost Rider. And now I think we're seeing, Return of the King, in essence, right?
Dun, 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 dun.
Whoa, careful. You'll get us copyright straight.
I'll get us copyrighted because I sound like a CD. Yeah. I mean, I agree, Quinn. I think, look, this guy is a absolute menace on the table. We are going to see a resurgence in humans purely because of him. I'm going to go as far, Quinn, to say I could see him being splashed. And I don't think I would have ever said that about Black Bolt before. Now, don't get me wrong. I still think that, his leadership is so good. You probably want to take unit into him. But yeah, for me, he's very, very good. I'm going to put him in A tier, Quinn, but I am going to put him below ASM
Just
in
for that
terms
sheer
of,
splashability factor, I think.
yeah.
Like in affiliation, I think Black Bolt has a
Oh,
far greater impact than ASM.
oh yeah, absolutely. Well, ASM is still playing second fiddle too. I
Yeah,
don't think
exactly.
these changes are going to displace Miles as the leader. What it may do is mean that you take ASM as a 5 threat with Miles, which you would never do before. I
Yeah.
just don't think it was really worthwhile. Are you happy with the placing there, Quinn?
I am happy with that, and we will go with A for Atalan.
A for Atalan. Okay. On to one of the characters that I mean, it's a downgrade, right? I mean,
It's a downgrade, but
it's an absolute downgrade.
it brings that there's another character on this list in addition to Miss Hardy. That that they've been brought down, but they've been brought down so that they are now in line with other characters that were changed
In
from the
line,
previous
yeah,
card pack.
exactly that. In line with the standard. She did get a little bit of something though.
Yeah, yeah.
So Black Cat, her cat claw, so her builder now does an auto bleed on damage. Now she all of a sudden, sorry, does an auto bleed on attack. You don't need to do any damage. I mean, you do need to do damage. Sorry, apologies. But with that pierce,
Yeah. I
should
mean,
be
also,
should be getting
for
one
an
through.
attack that had no like condition function
And nothing.
beforehand,
Yeah,
and a
exactly.
character that's in Midnight Suns.
Well, I was just going to say, very, very good character now for Midnight Suns. But she did get a couple of. So she got one other buff, which is bad luck. So bad luck just meant that you couldn't modify dice before. Now you do not roll additional dice for crits when you are defending against. Is it defending against her?
No, when she's being attacked.
When targeting, yeah, it is, yeah. Sorry, when she's being attacked. So now you don't explode crits and you don't re-roll dice. 333 as the stat line all of a sudden just got a hell of a lot better.
Yeah.
Because there's no spiking or anything like that. Just throw shit at her. That's what you need to do now to take Black Cat out. But the big thing, Quinn, as you mentioned, Master Cat Burglar, it is now an action. Works in the same way. What does it do? It just basically steals a VP off your opponent in the form of taking whatever object they are holding and just taking it off them. It didn't used to be an action. It now is. It just brings her in line.
It now works the same as Enchantress.
Yeah. What it now means as well, Quinn, is that she can't steal it, move, grapple hook and be away and never to be seen again, which I like. I hate running away this game. It's one of the reasons why Shatterpoint has been so appealing to me because there is no running away in that game. I still think, Quinn, she's perfectly serviceable. For me, I'd put her in B tier.
Yeah, she's a reasonable character. Like, I like the most sort of table time I've seen with her was in my Hydra roster. With that bleed on damage with her base attack now, that kind of makes her better for Hydra than she was before.
Absolutely,
So
yeah.
I'm cool with that. I think like we're gonna see her less. Like she's gonna be much less common now. So I think she's gonna go into that B tier of being just serviceable.
Yeah, I think you're just going to see her in affiliation a lot more.
Yeah.
I think now because the one unique thing she had, she no longer has. I mean, she can still do it, so she can still, take it off you. But I think her, for those people that play the real control game, that that appeal has kind of disappeared a little bit, hasn't it? In terms
I
of
think so.
what it is she does.
And B is for bad luck, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. Speaking of Midnight Suns, Quinn, next up is going to be Blade, a character who definitely needed something. I remember listening to them talking about Blade. They talked about how static he was. So they gave him Pursuit on his throwing glaives.
Yeah. It's the thing. It helps him a little bit. I think
it does.
I would have liked if maybe they'd upped the dice on that glaive by just a little bit. Just like, make it 5 dice base. It's still a physical attack. Physical is the highest defended damage type in terms of dice in the game, I think.
4-5 they want a physical. I mean, it is only a flat 1 power, so it
At
wouldn't
one
have affected
power,
things
like
that
he's
much.
using it to
But
get into range, and like it would still, you would still use the katana over it most of the time if presented with it, so it doesn't like nullify that other builder he's got.
yeah,
Um,
I think for me, I'm happy with it. I'd have just liked to have seen it as get pursuit because he does have a
just
trigger on there. You're more than likely going to roll it because it's just a hit, right? So the likelihood is you are going to get it off 4 dice. But I just think if they'd have gone, yeah, do you know what? Have a bone blade, just have a pursuit. It doesn't matter.
like
Would
I
have
think
been
also that whilst his mobility, especially outside of Midnight Suns, was an issue, the other issue that Blade has a lot of the time, especially with like, Guardians being a very big meta thing, he's got 3 energy defense and no defensive tech relating to it. And I get that's like, the theme of him being a dampier, UV radiation, all that sort of stuff. I don't know, I might have liked it just to have the dice bumped up, but still not have access to supernatural senses on it. Something like akin to that. Just something to make him that
falls
little
across
bit more survivable.
falls across the board is pretty good for a 4 threat there.
Pretty good, but he's Blade.
For me, Quinn, it doesn't do enough for me. The pursuit, especially with it needing a trigger. We had him as mid to low C tier, I think, previously. I mean, he goes up a little bit, but I don't
He
think he
goes
does
to like
enough.
high C tier, but like you aren't playing him out of
It,
affiliation, and you're
you're
taking
only
him in
taking him
affiliation
because he's the
because of the
leader.
leadership. Yeah,
That's the only reason you're taking him. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk about somebody, Quinn, who has been the butt of many a joke over the years. It is, of course, the actually no, sorry, apologies, because we're going in proper order. So let me go down.
Oh, also, I need to think of an alphabet.
Oh yeah, give us an alphabet.
C's not a blood type, is it? Is it? No, it's not.
C,
It's A,
C.
B, and then it doesn't do C, right?
Yeah, so no blood for Blade.
C for coffin, man.
Coagulation.
Coagulation, that's pretty good. Yeah. We'll
I
go
mean,
C for coagulation. Yeah.
so next up, Quinn, is actually still somebody else who's been the butt of many a jokes,
Mm.
but not the one that I was going with first of all. It is Cable, aka Nathan Summers. Quinn, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Maybe my favourite character in MCP, one of my favourite characters in the whole of Marvel, the model that I enjoyed painting the most, and he has been shocking. Shocking, shocking, shocking.
No, he does incinerate, not shock.
It just incinerate, yeah. So what has happened to Cable? Well, first of all, his health or his stamina on his healthy side has gone from 6 up to 7, making him a 7/7 now, which is much better. His plasma rifle has had a little bit of a tweak, whereby if he is within range 3, he gets to reroll 2 dice. It is still only a 5/5 though, Quinn, which we'll talk about in a second. His I can never say this right. Ascanison has gone down in cost from 6 to 5. It was 6 before.
There is another change to it though.
For
He
each
has
attack,
lost something on the flip side of it.
oh, what did you lose on the flip side? I don't
It
have that in my
used to
notes.
stagger people, I believe, on a wild when he flipped.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's a little
I mean,
something they're
it's
taking away from it. It makes sense. Like an AoE stagger feels real bad at 5 cost.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's fine. Nobody ever used it.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Quinn, is Wetworks. So Wetworks just used to be once per turn, one character can reroll the die when they attack. Now they can still do that. So each allied character may reroll 1 die in their attack rolls once per turn, including failure results. If they do, and the enemy character is within 3, the enemy character does not benefit from cover during the attack. I quite like this, Quinn, because what it does is it gives X-Force a absolute go-to crisis that they want to include in their list in the form of superpowered scoundrels. Look, it's situational. It turns off all cover. There's plenty of it out there, right? Not for Storm, but we'll get onto that. There's plenty of it out there, but for me, is it better than his leadership previously? 100%. Is it the best leadership in the game? Nowhere near. I don't know your thoughts on it.
I still think it's worse than Shadowlands Daredevil. It's also
Yep.
worse than New Daredevil. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if AMG is serious about making X-Force a thing and not just sort of, the redheaded stepchild of X-Men, they need to look at the tactics cards.
Yeah,
like
100%.
do something with dirty work, make it give out like VPs like it
Give a
always should
VP.
have.
Yeah.
Like
Which
something
doesn't
in
affect
that vein.
Cable, by the way. That's not, that doesn't affect
but
Cable's
it
card,
affects
but
his
it plays into the whole
affiliation as a
leadership.
whole. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, if we get some changes like that, then it'll make these changes feel less lackluster than they currently do, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't know if we had Cable as D or C. I have a sneaking suspicion he was D when we were ranking the leaders. I think when there's enough on there,
He's gone up, just
to
not
bump
by
him
a
up.
major amount.
I think he probably goes here just behind Blade for me.
Yeah, once again, you are probably not taking him outside of affiliation, and
100%.
in
No.
X-Force, you're taking him just because he's the leader, and even then, probably not worthwhile. He doesn't have, the redeeming quality of Bump in the Night like Blade does, right?
I mean, at this point, with the vast array of tactics cards they've got access to, you're probably playing Hellfire Club, aren't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, not. Look, it's a welcome buff, but you gave Sentinels what he should have had, which is on your builder, spend between 1 and 3, add that number of dice to your attack. But hey ho, who am I but a mere mortal?
And obviously, C is for Cable.
Okay, next up, Quinn, is Colossus. A very, very poor character. Previously, we played the first ever game with him that we had. We've told the story before. We both finished the game and went, he is absolutely shocking, and then realised you'd been playing him with a medium move as opposed to a short move. So what has Colossus got? First of all, he's got a speed increase. So he is now a medium move rather than a short move. He has got, Quinn, one that I think is going to be actually a big play. Cannot be pushed by an enemy effect. So his organic steel not only reduces damage now, but he cannot be pushed by enemy effects. And then lastly, he also got a change to Big Brother. Big Brother is now a reverse bodyguard from the traditional bodyguard. Difference there being is that you measure now from the enemy rather than from
he's
the
too
target.
dangerous to ignore now, rather than
jumping in front of the shield.
Did X-Slam get a cost reduction as well? Is that a thing?
Oh,
I feel like it did.
Maybe.
It's either it got a cost reduction or it got a range increase, or it's both. I know it got a range increase.
It got a range increase. Yes.
Yeah,
it did.
I don't know whether the cost changed.
I don't think the cost. I don't think the cost went down. It's always been 3. Yeah. Quinn, he's viable.
He's very viable. We're sort of getting into the characters that I played games with now since the changes. I played a couple games with the new X-Men under Scott. I've taken Colossus both times. He has absolutely been the linchpin around which my team doesn't collapse. That Big Brother bodyguard now being a too dangerous to ignore is really good. I also think they changed it because otherwise having an actual proper bodyguard that can't be pushed would lead to some issues in terms of just going, you're never hitting this character, screw you.
You are
Like,
never ever moving me. I mean, he can still be thrown, obviously. But yeah, look, I mean, medium move, medium base, not to be sniffed at.
yeah.
You know, he's going to generate power perfectly fine. You know, you always want to make sure you've got that 2 power on him. All of a sudden, there is a tactics card, and we'll get on to his fastball special brethren that becomes very, very viable as well. I really like him, Quinn. Now, you know, is he breaking the mold, right? Is he as good as Steve as keeping people, like, you know, all this kind of stuff? No, but he's gone from being D tier, Quinn, for me, all the way up to in that middle of the road, you know, perfectly serviceable, almost a staple now, I would say, of the X-Men.
He's in
And
that B tier.
I probably put him above Black Cat in terms of
I
where
think
he sits.
so, yeah. He's really, really solid now. He still doesn't do a great deal on his actual turn most of the time, but that's not the role he fulfills.
But
And
that's fine, right? That is
also,
absolutely
like, I think
fine.
another thing to mention is previously Colossus had like sort of conflicting philosophies going on in terms of like he wants to, you know, defend people with his bodyguard and then reduce damage. And those things didn't quite mesh because he wasn't getting enough power to do the bodyguards again after the fact.
Yep.
Now, with the advent of the new Cyclops leadership, he can get power in other ways, in other people's turns, which I think
Yep.
really helps him.
Feeds
And
into him. Absolutely.
yeah, and B is obviously for Buzz May.
Buzz my. Absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. Okay, next then, Quinn. Sticking with the theme of the X-Men, they've got a brand new leader, Quinn. Well, they've got a brand new leadership. Cyclops, aka Scott Summers, a character, Quinn, who for a long time has needed something doing to him because he has been shocking. And it has eventually happened. Let's go through. First of all, the push on his optic blast has increased from a size 2 to a size 3, even though he can push.
Should be
I've seen the cartoon.
5.
Yep. He's gained speed of sight. On a crit hit, he gets to make another optic blast. It just has to be in a different, you know, just has to be a different target.
Doesn't have the same rule. It's
And
like
it
a ricochet,
doesn't
but
carry over. Exactly. Yeah. Which is pretty good from a power generation standpoint. Like, that's pretty good, would you say?
yeah, I'd say it's pretty good. I mean, especially, you know, in relation to this X-Men Blue leadership, more attacks means more procs of that, means more, you know, stuff you hand out.
Absolutely. Next up next up is his optic devastation. One that I missed at first and then picked up second time round was his suppression on a wild is now 1 per wild. So the target character loses a power per wild, not just loses 1 power if there's a wild in the roll. Which on a 7 dice attack, couple of wilds in there is
Bad
is pretty,
sort of offsets the gain that they'd normally have from being hit with such a big attack. Yeah.
Yeah. But where it really comes in, Quinn, is his X-Men Blue leadership. And it's had a complete overhaul.
Yeah.
So it used to be characters within range 3 could spend their own power and contribute
pay
towards
1 towards other character spenders. Like,
We're just so bad. However, now, Quinn, when an allied character deals damage to an enemy character with an attack, another allied character within 5 of the attacking character may gain 1 power after the attack is resolved. A character may only gain a power as a result of this leadership ability once per turn, which most power generation leaderships are, if not all are, because you don't want that. You look at the characters in X-Men who thrive on power, and are maybe not the best at generating it themselves. Colossus. This is amazing.
It
You have
is
Colossus
incredible.
and range 5 as well. If Cyclops is positioned correctly, you're going to be getting most of your characters.
Well, not even if he's positioned correctly.
Of their
If
position.
Yeah, if the attack is positioned correctly, which they very
Yeah.
often are, at least able to give at least one power away.
Yep.
Like, oh, this leadership is so good because also, it's not conditional power. It's not like Steve, for example, who is effectively you get a free power to spend on a superpower per turn.
Yep.
You can spend this power on tactics cards and stuff like that if you want, which I
Oh,
think is one of the really strong places for it.
100%. A power is always better than reducing something in cost because you can use it for whatever you want. I really, really like it, Quinn. It just makes it means that he's going to be able to do field leader more often. Hit and run he's going to be able to do more often. Quick draw he's going to be able to do more. You look down the list of all the things that the X-Men have got, and it just, cascades and cascades and cascades. It's a real leadership. It feels more like Scott. He is the field leader of the X-Men, right? It's really, really strong. For me, with these new changes, and we'll get onto Storm in a little bit, Cyclops has surpassed Storm now as the leader of the X-Men.
As he always should have, in my opinion.
And he always should have been. Yeah, he always should have been. I'm not going to say this is S tier Quinn.
No.
But for me, he goes to the very top of A tier with these changes.
I think he goes.
It's not about just him. It's about what that leadership brings.
It does. Like, I still don't think there's a real flashability to him, which is what, like, for me, puts someone into the upper echelons of A. Like, personally, I'd say he's had more of a glow up than Black Bolt has because of how good this leadership is. And actually, they're quite comparable as leaderships. They're both revolved around power. It's almost like Inhumans and knockoff mutants.
It's almost like Marvel lost the rights to them a while back and created some new comics.
Yeah, hang
on. Reinvigorated some old comics because I know they were out before.
They were around in like the 60s with the Fantastic Four, whatever. Things that happened before I was born don't count. Like, for me, I feel like as much as I love this Scott improvement, he's still not quite in that, like, personally splashable tier. And for me, that means that he goes in A, just between ASM and Black Bolt.
I'm okay with that. I mean, I can't believe we're putting Cyclops.
I mean, anyway, to be fair, he's gone up 3 tiers. Like,
I mean, anywhere near A tier. Like, I mean, oh my dear Lord. Because everything else was fine with him. His stat line was fine. Like, I mean, my only niggle is still the Optic Blast and Optic Devastation. I'd have loved, and I think I put this in my video, I'd have loved to have been able to choose energy or physical. I think that would have bumped him up even more, but look, he's really good. Go check him out, play some games with him because he's also really, really fun to play.
And A is for alcoholic because that's what he was in Wolverine in the X-Men.
Yeah. Is that when Jean died?
It's when Charles goes into a coma is Wolverine in the X-Men and like he thinks he's like failed as the leader so he becomes an alcoholic. And Logan just like roughs him up and goes, "Get back here now."
Because he was a failure. Anyway, moving back to the normal people now. In AMG's world, do mutants have to stand up on the bus and walk to the back to let?
Oh yeah, they go at the back of the bus, like
to let Matt Murdock sit down.
Like, I mean, we all know that like the mutants in comics are sort of like an allegory for the civil rights movement in the US anyway.
100%.
You have Professor X, who has
Malcolm
the ideologies
X.
of Martin Luther King, but the name of Malcolm X, and then Magneto. Like,
so but AMG didn't need to compound it.
I know, right?
But on to Daredevil, the ballerina of Hell's Kitchen, the single biggest joke in MCP since the day he was released. Yep. Let's have a look at what has changed on his card, Quinn, because there is a hell of a lot. Starting out, His physical defense has gone up. You're goddamn right his physical defense should have been 4 all along. Like, the guy is one of the best up close, hand-to-hand combatants that we have in the game, but he's only got 3 physical defense. Never made sense. Baton Hook Quinn has had a little bit of an upgrade. He now ignores stealth. So he always ignored line of sight and cover, but he now ignores the stealth superpower, which is very interesting. And his push has now gone from being on a wild to a hit. So essentially doubling the chance of being able to get it on a roll. Devil's Deliverance, the base dice or the base strength has increased from 2 to 6, but he now only gains 1 additional die for every non-daze character. We've got the Man Without Fear. He now gains a short advance on that as well, so he gets to move towards them. And then the big one is obviously Defenders have another leader.
He's a leader.
He's a leader of men. Is it just men and some women?
Maybe some of them.
And 1 mutant. Is there only 1 mutant in Defenders?
No, there's more than 1 mutant, surely. Like Wolverine, and there's got to be someone else.
I don't know. Let's have a read through of Marvel Knights, Quinn, which I do love. Once per turn, an allied character may re-roll a number of its attack dice equal to the number of enemy characters within range 2 of itself. It's more re-rolls, but it's a very interesting take on re-rolls.
It's a very Daredevil take on rerolls.
It is a very Daredevil take on
This
re-rolls,
is like
right?
that corridor scene kind of rerolls, right?
Yeah. Which is what Devil's Deliverance they always tried to make it that, didn't they? That's what they wanted. Let's talk about his card first, Quinn. Much needed changes. Would you agree?
Like the increase to the defense. I like that, his Baton Hook has an ability called Pull, and it pushes people. Because MCP never made that distinction.
No, pushed towards.
That sounds a lot like pulling.
You've got to push somebody really hard, Quinn, to get them to the point, at least on Earth, where they are towards you, because...
The move on Man Without Fear, I think, is really, really big. It just makes that superpower a lot more, you have a lot more frequent uses of it now. It means that, he's not awful against range 3 attacks anymore, because he can walk in and punch you. And then, while he's punching you, he can get his own rerolls off his leadership, in your turn, which means that, you're getting more efficiency out of that as well. Also, and this isn't something that's changed, but long mover with Warcrawler is still really good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I would have liked to have seen 1 more stamina on his front. I think 6/6.
Counting blanks and having the 4 physical probably offsets it enough.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, overall, much needed. A lot more mobility, and a lot more in the way of control. And I actually don't mind Devil's Deliverance now, because the problem was when it was only 2, and you had 2 characters around you, great, I'm paying 5 power for a 6 dice attack, and you get to do it
now
3
you're paying
times
5 for 8.
5 for 8 with some rerolls in there, Quinn, as well, and the one that you really want to do. So it synergizes really, really nicely. Marvel Knights, I think, is really good. For me, Quinn, he is not the fix that Defenders needed. He is a step towards it, but Defenders need tactics cards.
And
We've said
either
this for a long time.
We'll either see a tactic card revision alongside some X-Force cards, hopefully, or they did show the Silver Sable and Shang-Chi pack. And
they did indeed.
Who are probably both going to be Defenders and might bring some cards along with them.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, definitely. Where does he sit for you, Quinn, with all the... Bearing in mind, was he below Colossus Like he might have been bottom of the pile, right? Whenever
He
we've done
might have
these.
been, yeah. Well, it's a tricky one because, like, I want to put him in B because he's very solid. He brings something new to an affiliation that's still going to be lackluster even with this like addition to him. Um,
I
like
think it
he's
does
very.
give you. I think it does give you some more flexibility when it comes to list building in
Uh,
defenders.
yeah, I also think like he might genuinely see some playing Web Warriors now as well because that is an
Yeah.
affiliation he's
Oh
part
yeah,
of.
he's in there, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, suddenly an extra defense dice. He's got that advance to like punch people after they've hit him. I could see like maybe a more offensive form of Web Warriors forming in like, the midst of all of these changes.
Yeah, maybe.
I
Definitely
still
not for
think,
Aaron. Definitely not for Aaron, but
oh
maybe for
no,
somebody else.
like I think even with all that said, I think he's a B. I think he's had more of a glow up than Colossus, and I think because of that he goes into the top of B.
Yep, I perfectly agree with that.
B is
He's
obviously for battle.
yeah, he's nowhere near
He's not in those
nowhere
upper
near A
echelons
tier.
quite yet. No.
Yeah. Next up, queen character I didn't really think needed a change.
I think he needed a change, just not the one they've given him.
Yeah, so Deadpool, aka Wade Wilson. So what's changed? On his stab, he now has stab on a double wild, which the follow-up attack doesn't have stab, and it's got a target. Oh no, this one must target the original character, so it's got to go into the same one.
It's a rapid fire, not a flurry.
Yeah. And then on his bang, it now gains power, which is
Yeah.
nice, but he now only has bang bang, which is on a wild and a hit, and has lost bang bang bang. So it's now a maximum of 2 attacks, but you do get the power from it, but it's only 4 dice. Yeah, like okay. And then we've got a new active ability, which is you can't spell legendary without leg day, which is a 2-cost range 2 place. Which, when I think of Deadpool Quinn, I think of murder and mayhem.
Yeah.
And this, for me, doesn't. Just because they've got some cool names on there, like unicorns, rainbows, I know karate, like, none of them scream Deadpool to me. I've never felt like they've nailed this as a character. Sometimes, even if a character's bad, you'll look at it and go, okay, look, it needs some tweaks, but they've nailed the essence of the character.
Yeah.
Other times the character can be really good, and you go, I mean, they're amazing, but they don't feel like they are X, Y, Z. I just feel like he's neither.
Yeah, like they've gone a bit too hard with the lol so random aspect of Deadpool and not so much with the other stuff. Which, is what it is. I still think that the change Wade really needed was he needed a rebalancing of his health.
Yeah.
He needed to be 5'5"
4'6".
instead of 4'6". Like
Yeah.
he just dies incredibly easily. And yeah, he's got the whole thing on his back where he still counts as healthy for contesting and stuff like that. However, that's not as important as not dying and therefore holding the extract that you had.
For longer. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that 4 health pool, even with healing factor 2, even with exceptional healing, it's just not good enough, is it? I'd have gone even as far, Quinn, to say I wouldn't have just minded him being 5'6".
Yeah,
I think that would have been
might have been a bit
been
good
fine.
for a 3 threat, but yeah.
So for me, Quinn, I think he's C tier,
He's the bottom of C tier.
and I think I think he goes below Cable. Like, I just don't think I don't understand what they're going for with him.
Like, what's the point of him? Is what we're getting at, right?
Yeah, like just that. Yeah, just that. Okay, Quinn. Moving away from the mutants and into the mystic with Dr. Voodoo, aka Jericho Drum. And I'm so happy about this one. So, first thing is he has gained spiritual strength on his spirit venom. After this attack is resolved, if the target character is size 2 or less, throw it short. And it's on a double hit. His possession now only stops people from holding objectives. They can still contest and they can still interact, I believe. Can still interact. So it only shuts down half of the VP swing. Because that was the problem, wasn't it? He would walk up, do one spirit venom, generate a couple of power, take a three threat character who had holding something and stood on a point, turn him off, and it's a 2 VP, well, essentially a 4 VP swing, because you're losing 2 and they're gaining 2. And it was too goddamn good. It was just stupid.
And then, you added on the fact that even if you managed to somehow kill Voodoo after the fact, it didn't actually impact anything.
Yeah, so what used to happen was you kill Voodoo or you daze him, and Daniel would stay on the character that he had possessed. So that has also changed. So Daniel now moves back to Voodoo when he is dazed, and importantly, when another character who has the token is also dazed as well. So it just means that it just goes back to him. Again, it's in line with, is it Gwen or is it, no, it's the other one. It's Squirrel Girl, isn't it?
With the
who had
token.
With a tippy token. Makes perfect sense, Quinn. And also, Quinn, a little sneaky one that's gone in there as well. Recall Spirit has increased from 2 to 3. So actually you've made his reactive of getting that back more expensive.
It's now actually a choice as to whether you possess someone rather than just dead brain, just beep boop beep boop numbers say I do this. Like that there's now actually contextual decisions involved in Voodoo. Very much a change for the better for the game.
Yeah, and also it's worth saying as well that spiritual strength that he's gained on Spirit Venom, he has lost as an ability.
He's lost his payable throw, and also the size limitation of it hasn't actually gone, because the size limitation thing where he got to throw something bigger if he had Daniel was only terrain.
Yeah.
He can no longer throw terrain. I am very, very happy about these changes to Voodoo. For the most part, AMG have gone through with fine-tooth comb and picked out almost all of the things that sort of got me down about MCP and made me stop playing and favour Shatterpoint, and they've taken them out. Yeah. Whilst also, in a reversal of the old saying, AMG taketh with one hand and giveth with another. They've made Voodoo a lot more viable in the affiliations he's in.
Yeah.
And he is so much better in Midnight Suns now, because he has a throw on Spirit Venom that you can get off the back of a Siege of Darkness. That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think there were much needed changes. It brings him in line. He is still very good, right? Still being able to possess somebody and making them drop what they are holding, especially when you've got something on a, for me, you're going to see him in the big boy tank meta. When you've got items on Juggernaut and Thanos and these really hard to take down characters, there is still a huge amount of value in him now.
Yeah, and he's still hugely survivable, right? He's effectively 4/4/6 stat line until you do that thing possession, right?
Yeah. So I still think he's very good, Quinn. He's definitely fallen from grace with his upper echelons of S tier. For me, I'm toitering somewhere between the bottom end of A and the top end of B. I think I'm more towards the A side than the B side.
I'm more towards a B, mainly because B is where you want characters to be in terms of like balancing and stuff.
That is true.
He's still good, but like he is now balanced, in my opinion. Like it may turn out that that throw on his builder is actually like silly good. Um, we'll have to do some testing with that, but I think now he's balanced and he forces you to make choices rather than
Yeah.
having having
Just being
everything at
able to
once.
do everything, which is what he was able to do before, wasn't he? So,
Yeah,
are we putting him above Daredevil then? I feel like he probably needs to go above Daredevil.
probably above Daredevil. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're side by side. Like I wouldn't say one's much better than the other necessarily.
Elektra Quinn, a character
Ooh,
who has just they tried and they kind of admitted that they tried something, it didn't work, and you know what? They kind of fixed it a little bit, maybe. So what's happened to Elektra? Her physical defense, sorry, nope, yep, her physical defense has gone up from 3 to 4, which again, I put her in the same category as Daredevil. Like, physical defense is not just about how tough your skin is. In my mind, Quinn, it's about how nimble, how agile you are, how good you are at deflecting and blocking and everything else like that. So, yep, really, really like that. Her big thing, Quinn, was always power generation. She had no way to generate power by making an attack. She just got it from out of blood. When she does damage, she got 1 power. Now, on her ancient throwing blades, they do a flat damage, which means that if she does what? Sorry, she gains a flat power, which means if she does a damage, she's actually getting 2 power. And I think
she
she's
can now
going to,
afford Assassin Step from no power.
well, exactly, right? Which is nice. I'm, however, a little bit confused. Not confused, but whilst I
Conflicted.
think bumping her defense up, her physical defense from 3 to 4 is really good. She also has an ability that costs 2 called Martial Prowess,
Mm.
where she would roll 5 dice instead of her what was 3 across the board. And then if she suffers no damage, she gets to do 2 back. That all of a sudden feels very expensive when it's a physical attack because you're only getting 1 extra die for 2 power. So, yeah, it just seems. I don't know if you've ever seen martial prowess on a character that has 4 physical defense before. I think they're threes across the
There must
board.
have been like someone that had like a 4 energy and had it or something.
I don't think so.
Maybe not, because the only two
Gamora,
characters I can think of are Gamora and
Taskmaster,
Proxima.
Taskmaster,
Taskmaster, yeah.
Proxima. So that's the only
Taskmaster
thing.
doesn't have martial prowess, by the way.
I know he
He
doesn't. No,
just gets
he's got
extra
a
dice when people double tap him.
no, and then he can clap you back. It's a slightly
Yeah,
different one, isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah. So it just feels a little bit weird.
Mm,
Like, but it's still there for a, it's still there for energy and mystic, which is fine.
yeah.
Is this going to boost Electra up the rankings? No. I mean, there was already some homes for her. Unfortunately for her, they came and went pretty quick because Red Skull came out, and with his in Convocation, you see Red Skull a lot because you can do the
Me,
whole.
even in Convocation, I think like you were actually better off playing Shadowlands Daredevil, but
I think you were.
like,
So I think we had her at C tier previously, Quinn.
did we?
I think we
Did
might have
we?
done. I
I
think we
don't
might
think
have
we
just
did.
done.
I think we had her in D with the ballerina.
I think we might have done. Yeah. So look, for me, Quinn, I think look, she's okay. Like
Is she? Is she?
she's not D
Oh,
tier. Like
what we doing putting her in C? Put her back in D. She's
no.
not escaped that like help it yet. Like she still is competitively unplayable. let's be honest here. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. Like, yeah, she's gained a physical defense and a little bit power generation. It's done nothing to solve all of her issues. Like, she's still a 4 threat.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I was thinking she was 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. She's still a 4 threat. Look at all the other 4 threats on this list and how much they've been improved.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what
That's
they should have
fair.
done? They should have made her like the 12th criminal syndicate leader. Given her something there.
Yeah, what could she have? What is it? The red, not the red hands. Is it the red hands? No,
It's just the hand.
the hand. Sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Even just like, even just some inbuilt rerolls would have been something. You know, assassin
Something
training.
to sort of, exemplify that assassin nature about her.
Yeah, like, assassin training. Reroll 1 attack and defense die, or reroll two attack die, or something like that, right?
Yeah. Like, maybe if she's attacking like the highest threat enemy character, she gets like a bonus or something, Make her that kind of headhunter character, but like,
Yeah,
yeah, she's had something done to her, it's still not enough.
she's better than she was.
It's still not very good,
Just
though.
is very good. Speaking of somebody who is better than they were, Quinn,
Oh, yeah.
let's talk about Hela, the Queen of Hell. I mean, where do we start? Well, let's start with, first of all, Hellforge Blade. It's gone up from range 2 to range 3.
Oh, yeah.
Which is pretty darn nice. Claim Soul has gone from a 2 cost
to 1.
down to a 1, which again is pretty nice. Reign of Hell has gone from a 4 cost down to a 3 cost, which again, Quinn, is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Just, increased power generation with the Hellforge Blade. And when I say that, obviously, it's the same number of dice, but you can do it from further away, therefore, you're more likely to be able to do it earlier in a game. And then reducing those two are pretty darn good. However, they have taken a little bit away. So Army of Hell no longer works with Claimed Soul. So it only works with Hellfire or Hellforge Blade and Reign of Hell. And it can, I think it was always once per turn, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this change makes a lot of sense because otherwise you're just constantly, effectively, claim soul as a 7 dice attack.
And you just regurgitate.
You just always spend the one, get
every
another one back,
single
spend one, get another one back. Like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Quinn, she's got a new active superpower called Death's Embrace. Choose an enemy character within range 3. Advance his character towards the chosen character short.
On a medium base.
On a medium base, yeah. Then, if his character is within range 1 of the chosen character, roll 4 dice. For each crit and wild in the result, the chosen character suffers 1 damage. For each damage suffered in this way, this character may remove 1 damage. This superpower can only be used once per turn. So, it's ranged. It costs 2, right?
Yeah.
And you get to advance somebody else, an enemy character. No, advance this character.
She
sorry,
moves herself.
she gets a move. Sorry, so 2 cost for an advance. It's pretty good anyway.
Isn't that just what Punisher has?
I think that's what it is. Yeah. But then the healing and the damage, big big fan of this, Quinn. Really like this.
Major change. Adds to sort of the unkillable nature of Asgardians as a whole. You factor in you're playing under Thor's leadership, you've got Odin's blessing, and you're doing this like every activation. Like, she's as unkillable as, the Queen of Hell should be, right?
Yeah, 100%, 100%, and dishing out some good damage at the same time.
Yeah,
right,
big damage.
And 3 cost, and the fact that it's got an explosive on there as well, so it's doing splash damage, so good.
Also, falls across the board defensively, nothing to sniff at.
Definitely nothing to sniff at. One of the few characters in this game where you go, don't read a stat line. Like, a stat line doesn't really, It does a little bit, but she doesn't die. She doesn't die.
Yeah, it's also important to note that she doesn't have Death's Embrace when she flips. That gets replaced by Queen of Hell, where she comes back.
Where she
After
comes
dying.
back, yes, yeah. So Queen of Hell is if his character has 3 captured soul tokens, when it will be KO'd, you may use this superpower, remove all damage, all captured souls, and this character is not KO'd. But she does stay on her dazed side.
On her flip side, yeah.
Worth mentioning. She's really good, Quinn.
Yeah.
Like she was. I think we had her in C before. It was like
Yeah,
she was kind of
wasn't bad
okay,
enough
but
to
just
qualify for D. Yeah.
yeah. Where do you think she sits?
She's not in A tier. Like, I don't think you're gonna see her splashed overly much, mainly because Bill still exists. She does give you some eyes on the prize play. If she fits what you're going for a bit more than Bill. She's good. I think I would genuinely contemplate bringing her in an Asgard list now. Even though,
100%. Yeah.
the field for 4 threats in Asgard, you've got Loki and Bill in there. She now is contending with those two, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And because of that, I think
Definitely.
she goes in B, and I think it's a pretty high B as well, to be honest.
I'm looking at Voodoo and going,
I think she might be better than Voodoo. I think she's got that damage output. Like, yeah,
and
she's kind of spooky.
she's tanky as hell. Yeah, I really like her. Let's not forget as well, she can access all the Asgardian cards. So again, not to be sniffed at by any stretch. So yeah, definitely a character. I don't think I've ever played with her in real life.
I have once or twice, like when the game was very young. And also, very quickly, B is for Blanchett.
Oh, nice. Like what you did there. Jean!
Jade!
Jean Grey. The 5-threat powerhouse for the X-Men, Quinn. What has she gained? She's gained a Pierce on a Fail on a Psionic Bolt. She has... yep. She has reduced the cost of Psionic telekinetic force from 6 to 5.
Woo.
And her latent psychic potential is now 2 rather than 1.
Still bad.
I still don't understand this character in the game because it's so niche. She's anti-Thanos, right? Or what was anti-Thanos.
Yeah.
And she's a counter to 1, maybe 2 characters in the game. And she still just doesn't work. Like, they should have gone all out. In the video I did, Quinn, I said they should have made her a 6 threat and they should have beefed her up to the 9s. And she's just not, like, a range 4, 5 strength attack on a 5 threat character. Like,
it's worse than Cable.
yeah, I mean, okay, she saps power, but, whoopee, she's now gaining all the power in the world. Sorry for smashing my mic. I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
Like, there's a real weird, like, once again, clashing of philosophies with this character, where she's got this matter transmutation ability where she could, like, move people within 2 of her that have an activated token and stuff. But she's not survivable enough to the point where she's actually alive at the point where there are people with activated tokens. Yeah. She's a 5 threat with 3 physical defense with no actual, like, defensive tech.
Yep.
You throw a few things at her, she explodes.
That's the problem, right? Even if even if she had the spend 2 force and stop all incoming collision damage or something, but
yeah, like that's the thing. Like, why is she worse against like physical objects being thrown at her when she's a telekinetic than like Emma Frost? Emma Frost just goes, "No, I have built-in brace. Screw you." Like, yeah. Why doesn't Jean have the same thing?
Yeah, very, very poor Quinn. Very, very disappointed in the changes. I thought it was going to be a character they were going to revisit. they were going to absolutely nail. They haven't done. She's still D tier.
Yeah.
Do you know
I'll put
what?
her above Electra.
I was going to go below just because she's
No.
5 threat.
Electra's still abysmal. Like, let's look at it this way. Jean got better changes than Electra did.
Okay. That's something. Quinn, the bane of every MCP player's life for a long time.
It's male Keith.
Unless you play him, it is male Kith. He has been the subject of a number of changes since his card was initially released.
Yep.
We won't go through them all here because it's been too many. What has changed now? It's not for the good. His stamina has gone down by a grand total of 2, 1 on his healthy side, 1 on his injured. So from 10 to 9 and 8 to 7. He has lost his pierce on Blade of Midnight.
Yep.
And now ferocity is a size 3 or less throw when you do damage. And you still have to do damage.
Yeah.
And it is still after.
And it's still Blade of Midnight, which no longer has the pierce, which means the odds of that just suddenly plummet.
Look, I actually thought Malekith was fine, how he was.
You're also the person that thinks Ghost Rider is fine, as he is. So, you know.
This is also true. I do feel like they've taken a lot off him there. 2 stamina, a pierce, and an unlimited throw is huge. Have they nerfed him into the ground, Quinn?
Probably.
I think they have.
Deserved.
I do think they have.
I think now people are going to play Malekith because they want to play Malekith, not because they want to, curb stomp their opponent, which I think is better for the game's health.
He's still got a good leadership. His leadership's still really nice. He's still good against spam spam lists. But which they did talk about how Malekith shouldn't be able to, shouldn't be a threat to the Hulk or to Dormammu or anybody like that. I feel like they could have made it an auto throw on ferocity.
Yeah,
just
maybe.
to give him a little something back.
He's kind of in that Thor territory with Frasgard now, where if you do no damage, suddenly you just wasted 3 power.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. I think Quinn. He was S tier before, wasn't he? We know this.
Oh yeah.
I think he's dropped down probably 2 tiers.
I think he's dropped down 3.
Maybe even 3.
I think he's now a C tier.
Is he better than Blade?
He's better than Blade. Still, he is a big 7 threat monster piece. But yeah, 1, I don't think you're ever going to see him splashed again. 2, I think he's going to be a less prevalent leader for Cabal now, even though Cabal as an affiliation aren't particularly prevalent anyway.
No. 1 threat less, you can take a Hulk. Why the hell would you take a Malekith? That's for your big hitters. That's kind of always my how much more or less are they than a Hulk? What is their damage output? His is now significantly less. Because it was that thing, wasn't it, that you could do a ferocity, you could throw a big character into a size 2, get a few damage through, then do a blood, do his beam attack, and probably potentially daze 2 characters in a single activation. And now I don't think it's going to be happening as much, especially with losing that pierce. Losing that pierce is huge, not just for the damage output, but for the power generation that damage output gave. So yeah, I think he has dropped by the wayside. Onto a character, Quinn, who I have actually started playing again. So I'm taking him.
I've always loved him.
Yeah, always loved Ronan. But he's back in my Guardians roster for WTC purely because I lost Bill. I gave up Bill to let Pat have him. and I replaced him with Ronan. And in the TTS leagues and a couple of other things, I've been playing with him just to practice the roster, and he was already doing work with me. I'd forgotten
Great.
how good he was. And now Quinn, he's just got himself an extra stamina, which is nice
Not
on
bad,
both
you know.
sides. On both sides, which is really good. And Quinn, if you've got an early version of the card like I have, he gets his Cree Justice for free.
Oh wow! Isn't that good?
Yeah, that was definitely a typo. Quinn Runner might be a character that not a lot of people have played with, because he's definitely not mentioned in any of the big podcasts or anything like that in terms of a character you should play. But we've always spoke about how he has the highest ceiling in the
The
highest
highest
floor
floor,
in the game, doesn't he? Because of the Accuser. So the Accuser basically, when he would be dazed or KO'd, he may use his superpower, and it costs 0, so he can always do it. Before he's KO'd, he gets to make an advance and then make an attack. Can be any attack. Can be a 0 cost, or it can be a 4 cost Cree Justice that has an explosive on there and deals stun and stagger if it does
On
damage.
damage, yeah.
Which, 8 dice, it's probably going to deal damage, Quinn, isn't it? Especially when you've got a wing in it token from Star-Lord as well. He's a very, very solid character. This stamina helps him be that front line that I think he always should have been. Let's not forget he's got a size 4 throw, Quinn on his strike as well. Which again, combining him with the wing in it tokens, you're going to get off quite a lot. I think he's solid, Quinn. For me, he goes solidly in that B tier. I think we maybe had him in C because there was a couple of 4s that were ahead of him. But for me now,
still, I've always had an affinity and love for Ronan, mainly because I like to push him around the board and go, "You stand accused."
I mean, and who wouldn't, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Who wouldn't? Whereabouts in B are you seeing him go?
Probably right about there where you're hovering, in between Voodoo and Daredevil, I think.
I feel
Like, it's not a big change, but it's a little something, right?
No, and I hope he gets a bit more love, because I really do like him. If you're playing Guardians, try him out. It's a different play style, but very, very solid character and can do some absolute work. Medium base, medium move as well, not to be sniffed at.
Yep.
Okay, Quinn. Ha ha ha! Aurora Monroe. Fuck you. Storm, aka Aurora Monroe. What has happened to her? Well, she's got a little bit of something, Quinn.
Actually,
So her Hurricane has gone from a strength 5 to a strength 6. Her Eye of the Storm has had its cost reduced from 3 to 2. But X-Men Gold has had a little bit of a rework, which it needed. It absolutely needed. First of all, the place now costs 1. All same rules apply. Once per turn, can't be holding an objective, but it will now cost 1. Good. It was bullshit. And she has lost cover. So if you're outside of 2 now and attacking a character, they get to reroll 1 defense die, which is still not bad, Queen, because that stacks with any other, defensive tech that they've got. But it drops her down a lot.
it drops it down to no longer being the premier leader of the X-Men.
I mean, Storm was, and it's weird, isn't it? Because Storm in herself
It's just
never
bad.
had anything really good.
No.
But she had an amazing leadership with an amazing set of characters to take with that leadership and use that leadership. Costing 1 now just takes away from all of the players that they had and everything they could do. It's still there, it still exists. You just have to now think about whether you want to use it rather than using it just as and when. And sorry, I think I said once per turn. It is once per round to do the place, not once per turn. I think we had her in S tier Quinn before. High A's,
Yeah.
low S. I think she can go sit alongside Malekith.
I think she is now relegated to the Keith zone. Yeah.
I
Um,
think,
I feel like you know how previously with Black Cat I said AMG taketh with one hand and giveth with the other. They didn't give her anything. They gave
just
her an extra dice on an AoE attack.
grabbed at her twice.
Yeah, like I feel like they could have at least made Lightning Bolt an extra dice base.
I think they should have done.
Something to make her be like, oh, you can still play her. Like I don't see any reason to play her when you're playing an X-Men list. And let's be honest, she was never really going in a Wakanda list anyway.
Oh yeah, she's Wakanda, didn't she?
Yeah, she's the queen
Only
of
by
Wakanda.
marriage. Yeah, it's not good, Quinn. It's really not good. Losing the cover. Yeah, it's really not. I mean, for me, I think the costing one is more than is a bigger impact than losing the cover.
Yeah,
I would
because it
say.
stops you doing things like the Angela Cubes play, where she runs in, steals an opponent's cube, runs back, picks up another cube. Like it stops that kind of stuff happening. Like it just, once again, it is a taming of the extract bullshittery that is typically present in MCP as a game.
I mean, you saw people running Sentinels in X-Men just so they had a big base to jump off. Like,
Oh, is that why they were doing it? I just did it to get rerolls.
well, and the rerolls as well, right? But yeah, for me, Quinn, I think
She's in that C tier, and just because I have to. Do you know what C is for, Rich?
go on.
Claustrophobia.
You evil, evil man.
AMG had put her in a box and she doesn't like it.
Yeah, sad times for all you Storm players out there. Not sad times, however, for my favourite rogue agent in the game, Taskmaster, aka Anthony Masters. I have been saying for a long time, people have been on the Winter Soldier bandwagon, banging that drum. He's the go-to splash character for a 3 threat. I've been saying, Quinn, for a long time, Taskmaster does absolute solid work.
Yeah,
Mnemonic technique for 2 power, going on a flank and going into like a Wolverine who's got 4 physical defense, 8 dice for 2 power, and they can't modify and reroll.
I like doing
It's
it
huge.
into Miles in ASM.
Yep, I mean, it's huge. Now, Quinn, you know how he learns things, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's learned something from Sam and Steve, hasn't he?
He's learned how to get a power from his shield throw.
And like, honestly, this is such a huge buff, and I don't think people are quite going to realise how impactful it is.
It really, really is.
More power for
really,
mnemonic
really is.
technique, more power for photographic reflexes. Like, it's incredible, and especially with the nerf we saw to Bucky earlier that we're going to get to. Like, he is the rogue agent now. Like,
I agree.
He's gone full Captain Phillips. He's walked up to Bucky and gone, look at me, I'm the rogue agent now.
Yeah, if you want somebody to stand on a point, Quinn, and just take the hits, like, he's so good. For me, Quinn, I think we probably had him in like high C, low B before.
I think he was probably in like low B. That's where I would have envisaged him. I think he now probably goes up into like a low A.
I'm putting him there. I'm putting him there. Guys, if you haven't tried out Taskmaster in your list, you are doing your list a disservice. He is very, very good. Yes, he doesn't have the flashy assault rifle that, Winter Soldier does and the reactive stuff, but put him on a point, and the chances are you'll catch your opponent out as well, especially when you slap them back with that mnemonic technique. I played against somebody at an event a little while ago who is a seasoned player and didn't realise why I was rolling 8 dice into their Logan, and then was very sad when he 2-shot him. That is how good he is as a 3 threat, and 6 stamina on his front, Quinn, as well as a 3 threat, not to be sniffed at. The Mad Titan, Quinn, Thanos.
Ding dong, the witch is dead. Witch or witch? The Thanos witch.
So it's fair to say, Quinn, by his card alone, Thanos has had a nerf, okay? And the big nerf is Cosmic Portal. Cosmic Portal can now only be used once per turn. It used to be a character can only be moved once per turn with this ability. So that is huge, absolutely huge. On the other side, I did mention at the beginning of the video, there's been a change to the Reality Gem and the Space Gem. They were restricted. They are now no longer restricted, meaning that 8th threat Thanos is back on the menu, boys.
Yeah,
potentially. But obviously losing that Cosmic Portal, Quinn, does hurt him a lot, right? Because a lot of people don't realise this coming into the game. They see Thanos and they think big mad bruiser at the front, battering people down. He is a control piece. That's one of the things.
He was the most obscene control piece the game has ever seen. And
hi, Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Yeah, was one of the main reasons why I sort of fell out of love with MCP, if we're being honest. Like,
yeah, it was toxic actually, Quinn. Like, it was really bad. Everything else remains the same. We've always had him, and we're not going to rank him based on different gems or anything like that. We're just looking at him as a character with access to all of the gems that he could ever want to take.
Even though there's only ever 2 you really take. Maybe a third if you're running Black Order.
There's 3, right? Yeah, it's Space Mind, Black Order, Reality Space outside of Black Order, right? I think is fair to say.
Yeah.
With all of this in mind, Quinn, I think losing Cosmic Portal and gaining the gems back is still overall a nerf to Thanos.
Yeah.
A needed one.
Much needed, yeah.
He wasn't as egregious as Malekith, let's say, in terms of, absolutely raffle stomping. We've always had him as, like, I think with those gems, like S tier, high A, he's always been high A, S, somewhere between there, right? Where does he sit now for you, just with everything taken into consideration?
He is an A tier because I feel like they could have done one more thing to just keep him in check, make him toe the line, and they didn't do it. And that is, I don't think they should have unrestricted the Reality Gem.
That's fair.
And this is something that I've been harping on about for years. I hate what the Reality Gem does to this game because it is fine from an offensive standpoint. It is not fine from a defensive standpoint.
That's the problem, isn't it? That's the real problem, is the defensive side and what it gives to him, especially when he just reduces everything by 1 anyway, from enemy effects, not bleed or not crisis stuff. But yeah, and I still think he's probably top end of here, Quinn.
Yeah, like...
I think the problem is that you're going to see a lot more Splash Thanos.
Yeah, which is the opposite of what we wanted.
Is he?
He's better than ASM.
Yeah, he's definitely... I mean, is he there still? Stupid. Is he still there?
I don't think he's still there. Like, Cosmic Portal being once per turn means that he's a lot worse in the later rounds of the game. But he's basically lost none of his round 1 efficacy. Like,
I know, but now imagine him with Space Reality plus a Sacrifice or a
patch-up brace.
A patch-up and brace.
Yeah. They've made the unkillable thing more unkillable. I'm not overly fond, AMG. Not overly fond.
Don't like it. So we're saying high A then, yeah?
High A. Like, he's not quite S tier anymore, but, like, God, he needs more done.
He really does. He really, really does. Thor, Prince of Asgard, Quinn. Sorry, A is for...
A is for... Actually, could you re-restrict the Reality Gem, please?
So, Thor, God of Thunder, Mitch, this one is for you. Stamina on his healthy side has gone up from 6 to 7, making him a 7-8 now, Quinn. Pretty
What he
good.
always should have been.
Pretty good. God of Thunder has gone down from a 6 cost to a 4 cost, and now does an auto shock,
So good.
which is real good.
So good.
And Quinn, imagine being the God of Thunder
And having, Storm be able to shock you.
and not being immune to shock and stun. Well, now he is. So that's it, guys. I mean, Quinn, we've been saying for a little while, haven't we, how we actually think he's better than what people give him credit for.
For the past year or so, ever since the Crisis changes, I played a lot of Asgard in the early sort of months. And I came round on the idea that Thor isn't as bad as many people claim him to be, and certainly we've claimed him to be in the past. Holy shit, now he's good. He's
good,
actively real good.
Where's the leader you want to take? Just in time for them to release at least one new one. Which is fine. I really like him, Quinn. Just the shock and stun, right? Because as soon as you got a shock on him, his forearm, he felt so sad. That extra stamina helps loads. God of Thunder is an area attack now that you want to do.
God of Thunder is incredible. I played a game against New Thor the other day, and he did God of Thunder 2 or 3 times throughout the game, and the shock was really bad from it, and also it's just 7 dice for 4 on multiple people is absolutely huge.
I would say if you're hitting 2, it's worth it.
Oh, 100%.
It's as simple as that.
Also important to mention, he's got 4 Mystic now.
He does have 4 Mystic now.
He's lost that little, that little weakness he had. It's been patched up
because he was thick, which is basically what it was. I mean, he's not S tier, Quinn. We know that, right?
No, but he's so A tier now.
He is so A tier.
Fuck it, he's going above Thanos.
I don't think he does. I'm gonna.
So good. So good.
Do you know what? I'm down for it.
A for Asgard, motherfuckers.
A for Asgard. Okay, Quinn. On to James Bucky Barnes. And unfortunately, what goes up must indeed come down.
Like Icarus, he flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, 2 big changes to Winter Soldier, and 2 things that don't seem that much. But number 1 is his rapid fire on his assault rifle has gone from being on a hit, which obviously has 2 of the 8 dice, down to a wild, which is only 1 of the 8 dice, effectively halving the chance that you will get that through, decreasing his damage output significantly, huge decrease in potential damage output. And then the other one, Quinn, is on his Red Fury. The push is now size 3, and the problem is you have to perform the push to get the assault rifle attack off. So if you don't get the push off, because they're size 4, then you don't get to make you don't get to make the assault rifle, which in the olden days would have probably been followed up by another assault rifle. So essentially, without crits, rolling in 15 dice for 4 power. And that doesn't happen anymore. It reduces the viability of Got Your Back, because you're not going to recoup the power that you would recoup from it, because you're not going to get that second trigger. It just cascades and cascades and cascades down. Look, he was too good. He was too good.
He was touching S tier previously.
He has dropped now.
He's gone from touching S tier to touching cloth.
Quite considerably. I think he only needed one of them changes. And probably the Red Fury one.
I think it's the rapid fire one personally.
The rapid fire is the more egregious one, isn't it? That's the thing. But yeah, he's just lost a lot of what he does. And for that, Quinn, he's going in C tier for me.
I think he's bottom of B. He's not quite in
Do you think?
He's not in the bowels of the tier list along with Malekith and Storm. He's not
Fair
had
enough.
that much of like a, he's not gone from being everywhere to being nowhere like arguably Storm and Mal have gone. You'll still see him in the places that you've seen him previously. Like, he's still a rogue agent. He's just not the best one anymore.
He never was.
We both know he actually was. Let's be
I
honest.
know, but I like to be controversial a little bit.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Quinn, is he the best at what he does anymore?
I think he is the best at what he does now.
Is he now the best at what he does, Quinn?
I think he's what he does.
Can we no longer say it's the most stupidly inapt name superpower in the game?
We're gonna have to find a new one now.
Because he's now actually the best at what he does. We are talking about, obviously, OG Wolverine, James Logan Howlett. This guy was at the bottom of the barrel alongside Colossus and Daredevil. What has happened to his card? Well, first of all, the best at what I do. The cost, Quinn, has been reduced from 3 to 2. It is now a move action followed by an attack action.
It's charge, but better.
It's a charge where wilds count as 2.
It's the best charge. He's the best at charging. That's what he does.
Yep. It's pretty darn good. It is pretty darn good, to say the least. So that means you can use it on Berserker Barrage, Quinn, which is 7 dice rather than the 5.
Chances of wilds are much higher.
Yeah, and you get to throw it off the back of that one as well. So yeah, pretty good. And then his stamina has increased from 5 up to 6 on his injured side.
I honestly think this is one of the biggest changes.
It is huge because it has it does 2 things. It keeps him alive for longer, but it gives him a bigger pool of stamina for wild range to affect. Which means that he can essentially be adding in up to 5 dice when he makes attacks. So all of a sudden, he has a 10 dice builder with a Pierce. He has a 13 dice Berserker Barrage, which is pretty good. Quinn, people might be looking and going, how is 1 stamina a big thing? How is 1 power reduction a big thing? Like, we say this so much. It's the little things. A character can be 1 number here and there from D up to like B and A tier. Like, the gaps are not that big in these characters, that it is these little things that make the big difference. And I think Wolverine's a great example of that, Quinn.
It's also important to, acknowledge the vital synergy between Wolverine and X-Men Blue now. Because suddenly, you don't need to get 2 attacks through to give, 2 power to him, to get the best of what I do. Now, you do 1 attack within 5 of him and do damage. Bam, he's got it online turn 1.
Yep. He's got access to 2 cards. I'd say 1 very good card, obviously Exceptional Healing, which is amazing. Fastball Special, which is, now Colossus is good. He's definitely a viable card. And then what's the other one where he gets to throw himself?
Weapon X training or something like that.
Yeah.
So I still don't think that's a particularly viable card, just because of the cost of 3. But,
it is, yeah. And also the opportunity cost as well, right, overall.
Did you mention the Wolverines as well?
I didn't mention the Wolverines, no.
Potentially viable with the Wolverines now,
Maybe. This is big. This is the Wolverine that I wanted, right? Yeah. Wolverine had a 3 threat that was better than him in the form of X-23. Wolverine was D tier. Does it... I mean, that is a bloody good charge, Quinn.
It's a bloody good charge.
Is he A tier?
He is A tier. He's not S tier. There's no way he's broaching S tier.
I was B A, is where I was.
Yeah, I think he's in that A tier. I think honestly he probably goes just above Scott would be where I put him personally, just because of that splashability now. Also,
he's in 4 affiliations as well. Let's not forget.
He's in a lot of affiliations. Steve Avengers, either iteration of Steve Avengers, that charge is really good in.
He's a
Like,
great 4 threat to sit alongside Daredevil.
yeah, like, like he's got all of these different places that suddenly work for him. Like, even just having a reroll in X-Force, right?
Yep.
Like,
Well,
he works in all four of those
rerolling a
places
fail.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rerolling his fail. Like, yeah, really, really good. He's the Wolverine we always wanted. Go out there and play him, guys. He gives his counterpart a run for his money in terms of what he can do. But yeah, he is eventually, guys, we can officially say it. This is a worldwide exclusive on the Richmond Gaming channel. Wolverine is now the best at what he does. There we go, Quinn.
And what he does isn't very nice.
What he does is not very nice, no.
And that's what A was for. It's the and in that statement.
And yeah, Quinn, Wongers. I think
This
there's a
isn't
couple of
four
things.
threat Sorcerer Supreme Wongers, so I don't want to hear about it.
No. There's a couple of things with Wong. Obviously, he's just got himself a cheeky little additional leader in the form of Daredevil. He's a 2 threat. He's in affiliation. Again, Quinn, I've always said, and we've said it once or twice already now, physical defense is not how thick your skin is. He is, he's not only a master of the mystic arts, he's also trained in hand-to-hand combat. We've seen him training the Abomination in cage matches. Like, he's pretty handy. So to reflect that, his physical defense has gone up from 2 to 3, which is, it's needed. Like, 2 physical
He's no
defense for him
longer
was-
like the prey of Bucky Barnes is everywhere.
Yeah. And the other one, and I think also this plays very much into the Defender's play, he now works with both Doctor Strangers. So Servant to the Sorcerer Supreme used to only say Doctor Strange. Even though the other Doctor Strange was Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme, it didn't work with Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme, even though the name of this is Servant to the Sorcerer Supreme. Anyway, basically gives him +1 defense. So if you keep him within 3, he's a 4/4/4 as a 2 threat, which is pretty good. Wong is a support character. He's not out there to do damage, although I have seen him do the last point of damage on a Thanos before, which is always fun. I think there's some playability now, Quinn. I think it's in affiliation, which for me it always has been with Wong anyway. But I think as a member of the Defenders, as a member of Convocation, I think he's perfectly serviceable. As a back point holder, he gets some nice extra buffs if Stranger's in range. See what I did there? And B tier, solid B tier, B tier. No issue with him.
He's still like bottom of B, but he's
Yeah. Is he above Bucky? I think he's above Bucky.
Sure, we'll put him above Bucky.
There we go.
Just to spite him and go, oh, look how good Taskmaster is. We'll put him above Bucky.
Exactly that. So there we go, guys. Those are the 21, 22 characters, I think, that were announced to have changes. I'm going to leave a link down in the description below. All of these cards are all completely free to download. There will be a character pack coming. We haven't had the date yet. It'll be sometime next year. If previous things give us an idea, you're probably looking at second quarter of 2024, which feels like a long way away. It's probably about 6 months off before we get hold of them.
Yeah, honestly, just print them off. Like, if you want to get them printed off at like an actual printing place, they can probably do them on card for you.
For cheaper than the card pack, and they do sell out. They do sell out quickly as well.
Yeah.
Quinn, we mentioned the reality in the space gem. Obviously, that affects some other characters as well, who maybe got knocked down the pecking order because of their lack of access to not lack of access, but the opportunity cost of those gems and what you lose in the form of patch up, brace, sacrifice, whatever it may be. So let's start off then, Quinn, with the reality gem and Corvus Glaive. Corvus Glaive, one of the most, in fact, I think still that with the reality gem, single highest damage output character in the game when you add everything in there that he has got, as in a single attack action. Maybe with some throws like Magneto could do more because he can do stuff, but pretty good at murdering things,
He,
right?
he is pretty good at murder. Yeah.
I very much believe that we are going to see Corvus in a lot more places now. He was sort of retired to just Black Order. I mean, you used to see him everywhere, right? I've run him in Guardians before. You saw him in Criminal Syndicate. Usually with his wife in tow. And it's just because of how good he is at murdering things. And he hasn't
Yeah.
got any worse. He's just
Yeah. I
been
mean,
unlocked.
sort of. He still, took a hit from where he was at the very beginning of like when he was released because of that husband and wife change, making it have a cost now.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like 8 threat and 2 characters is a lot of like sort of splash investment cost for a lot of affiliations now because like most of them have been beefed up with like new characters and stuff. Um, I think he has obviously had a big glow up. He's not restricting you in any way now. Like he is less restrictive now than he was when he was released because when he was released, gems took up a roster slot.
Yep.
Now there's nothing in regard to that, and there's no tactic card sort of shenanigans going on, even though it is still my belief that of all of the gems, reality needs to be restricted, if not changed to not work defensively. I can see him being taken in list now, and that is a
100%.
scary prospect, I think.
Yeah, 100%. He's obviously high end of A, at least. Does he make it into the upper echelon? Is it that egregious having just removing the opportunity cost for the reality gem?
I'm gonna go with no. And the only reason he's not in S is because of that husband and wife thing. If husband
Okay.
and wife was still free, then he would genuinely be one of the biggest problems in the game again. Now, he's probably hovering just behind Thanos in A, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd agree because obviously these changes affect Thanos as well, right? Let's just
Yeah.
move this over here a second so we can see it. Yeah, these changes affect Thanos as well, so he's going to benefit from the gem as well. So I'm absolutely fine with that. Onto the space gem, Quinn. Starting off, we got Ebony Maw. Obviously, it goes from a 5 threat up to a 6. It's pretty good on Ebony Maw. Ebony Maw had a glow up in the last round of card changes. I've always liked him. I've just never really found a place for him in the affiliations that I play.
Yeah.
But I do see him. I do see him quite a lot. Weirdly, not that often in Black Order, because I think he's competing against the likes of Corvus in there. But he can make good use of that gem. I just don't know if he needs it is the thing. Like, he's already got enough.
It is good on him. Like, it helps him fulfill that role as sort of the mobile turret piece of Black Order. And something I will say with regard to the gem changes is they were desperately needed for Black Order to be playable. Not only just for, like, Thanos to, still be a thing in Black Order and them to actually receive restricted cards, but also for, the other side of Black Order where they've got that really subpar leadership card. But just like the non-Thanos Black Order was really punished for what was in essence something done to keep splashes
Thanos
in check.
Yeah.
Like I feel like a much more amenable solution to this whole thing would have been to just make it that Black Order don't have the gems restricted.
That could have been interesting.
Make that thing just like have it be like just a little thing in the restricted section that if you are playing Black Order as your affiliation,
maybe
you can take restricted cards.
Maybe that should have been part of Corvus's leadership.
I wouldn't have minded that. Just like a little something extra on top of that, like just it would have been, I think, it's pretty desperately needed for them. I think.
Yeah, they need something, don't they?
Yes, that's been taken away now, and they are in that better place. But in turn, because of the way it's been done, they're also just infinitely better in other places, and that
Yeah.
just isn't something that should be going on, really.
So looking back, last time we had Ebony Maw in C tier with the Space Gem, and I think it was that opportunity cost that we popped him down. Do you think it's good enough to bump him
Um,
up, or do you think he probably still stays?
I still think he stays where he is for the most part. Like, it's always been my issue with the gem bearers that, aside from the reality gem, they don't get anything else that like makes them feel like a threat more than they are as a base character. Like,
Yeah,
there's a reason why like Loki and Corvus get away with it, and that's because they have survivability tools that enable them to feel like they are worthy of that threat increase and can stand toe to toe with the big boys.
yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I've plopped him there just in between Storm and Blade. Feels like it's about right,
Yeah.
give or take. And you just mentioned him, but last up is Loki. You like playing him with the Space Gem, don't you, Quinn?
I prefer him without, to be honest. Like,
Oh,
I am a
okay.
big fan of Loki as a character in general. Like, I played a lot of Asgard, as I mentioned before, at the start of the year, and he quickly became one of my favorite pieces. Um, Honestly, like, I think I'd put gemless Loki in like a low A, high B. I think Loki with a gem goes lower than that to like a low B, just because you're investing too
Yeah.
much in him at that point, and like that's once again just one of the issues with the gems for me personally. Like,
No, I think that's fair. I think that is fair. What's nice to see, Quinn, is that they haven't gone too far with some characters and boosted them up. Still a couple in there that could have done with a little bit of something extra. You know, Jean and Elektra definitely feel a little bit subpar with what was done for them. But there we go, guys. That is our assessment of, and also, you know, a rundown of all of the from MiniStravaganza in the new card pack that is coming. Quinn, overall thoughts on the changes? Positive,
uh,
negative, indifferent?
I think they have been overwhelmingly positive. There are a couple things that slip through the cracks. For example, the unrestriction of the gems. But beyond that, all of the characters that needed something taken away from them had it taken away from them. I'd
Yeah,
argue that not everybody that needed something given got either enough given or anything given, because there are still characters out there that aren't part of this pack that need help.
definitely. Yeah, there's definitely a few out there. I would say probably the biggest losers of this for me are definitely Malekith and Storm.
Yeah.
You know, I think they have really struggled. For me, I'm going to say the biggest two winners, Quinn, are probably from where they were to where they are now, because obviously we need to, you know, take that into account. For me, it's probably it's probably Wolverine and Cyclops.
Yeah. I was
If
gonna
I
say,
look
like, I
at
think, yeah, it's a big glow up. I'd argue Colossus is very much up there as well for what
Colossus
he
is up there,
was.
yeah, definitely.
Daredevil too. I think like they are definitely the four biggest winners, even if they aren't like awesomely S tier. They've just they're gonna see the table, and that's what we want in this
Yeah,
game. We want the characters that you buy to be viable on the table, right?
yeah, and I will say, you know, for the most part, you know, AMG do a really good job, don't they, of that bell curve. Most characters sit in that B, you know, between C minus and A minus tier, right? Most characters sit within there, which is a good sign of a healthy game. But no, I think they've, you know, I'm not going to say they've knocked it out the park with this one, but I think they've definitely done a really good job. Time will tell with some of those characters how tuned they are. I remember when we did this last time, Quinn, and there was a couple of characters that we were like, yeah, they're pretty good, but it's nothing game breaking. I think Winter Soldier and Ghost Rider come to mind as two characters who we definitely missed the boat on. in terms of how good they were going to be and the impact they were going to have. But there we go, guys. That is our breakdown of the Card Pack 20. I gather it's Card Pack 2024, right? That's what it'll be. Let us know down in the comment section below what you guys think. Remember, we are giving away that core box. So the question is going to be, let me know down the bottom which character do you think missed out? Which of the characters you think still in the game missed out on a little bit of a glow up and some extra help in the game? I can think of two or three.
Can I answer get an entry?
No, I can think of two or three already, Quinn. But we're not going to say them because we want people to think for themselves. You also need to make sure you've liked, subscribed as well. Obviously, pretty standard stuff. And we'll be doing the draw from a random video from this MiniStravaganza series, and then it'll be a random comment on that random video. So to increase your chances, go and check all of the videos out that we've done on MCP for MiniStravaganza. Yeah, overall, Quinn, fairly happy with it. I think it's a thumbs up. So. Let's not forget, guys, they're not charging us money for this, right? That's the thing I want to reiterate about AMG. They make these big changes and they put them online for free for you to use immediately. Like, I don't think you can ask fairer than that.
Or anything like that, do they?
A $35 codex? No, they don't, Quinn. But yeah, there we go, guys. If you want to, in fact, big shout out to the Patreons. They really, really do help us continue the running of the channel. And if you do want to support us on Patreon, you can do so from as little as £1 a month. There'll be a link down in the description below. But just, leaving a comment, liking, subscribing, just interacting with the videos. The algorithm loves it, apparently, Quinn. So that is another great way of being able to support us.
I don't like the thing you did with your hands there. Like,
it was that. Guys, go check out the Discord. There's 1,000 people on there now, Quinn, which is mental.
That's like more than 3.
That is some more than 3. Yes. And guys, we'll leave it there. As always, it leaves me just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and as always, bye for now.
See you.